This is the recitation for problem set 5, and in this problem set we'll concentrate on exchange rates and calculating national income from expenditure side. But before going into the questions, I find it helpful to understand what nominal effective exchange rate means, but in short, NER. Nominal effective exchange rate is the weighted index of spot exchange rate of a currency. In the lectures, you learned what a spot exchange rate is. We show it by E. And let's say that if, let's consider the Turkish lira and dollar spot exchange rate. If a dollar is worth 10 Turkish liras, that means that our E is 10. So what does it tell us? It tells us that if E goes up, that means that our currency is losing value, a depreciation. So this tells us that how much a dollar is worth in terms of Turkish liras. If a dollar is worth 10 Turkish liras, then that means that our E is 10. If our E increases, then our currency is depreciating. In nominal effective exchange rate, we don't consider just one exchange rate market like Turkish lira and dollar market, but we consider all of the exchange rates in the world. So we consider the yen Turkish exchange rate or euro Turkish exchange rate. We put all of them and put them into a basket and see if our currency is depreciating in general terms, because our currency may be depreciating against dollar or euro, but it might be appreciating against yen. So we want to know if our currency is gaining value or decreasing in value compared to all of the currencies. And we do this by weighting our index, because if your currency is depreciating or appreciating with a country that you have strong trade relations, that will affect you more. But if your currency is depreciating with a country that you have no relations, that will not affect you, right? So if our currency is depreciating against euro, that will affect us more, because we have a lot of trade agreements with Europe and we have a lot of exports. But if Turkish lira depreciates against, let's say, with an African country's currency, that might not affect us that much, because we don't have any international trade with them. So to calculate index, we sum the imports and exports we do with country I, and we divide them with the total imports and total exports of Turkey. So as an example, let's say that Turkish total imports is 10 and Turkish total export is 10 and import is 10. So our total imports plus export is 20. And as a country, let's say that I is Germany, right? If I is Germany, we want to know how much we export to Germany now and how much we import from Germany. Let's say that this is 5 and 5. If we sum these up, that's 10. So 10 divided by 20. Germany's index in our nominal effective exchange rate is 1/2. So you calculate weight for all of the countries, and then you go to calculating exchange rate index, which is like, if you want to know the nominal effective rate in 2008, and if our base year is, let's say, 1990, that we put the exchange rate in 1990 here, and we put the exchange rate in 2008 in here, and then we calculate the exchange rate index for currency I for year T and for a chosen base year. You do this for every country and you multiply them and you sum these up for all of the countries, and you'll get your nominal effective exchange rate. It might seem complicated to calculate that, but you'll see it's actually so easy when we go into the questions. So what do we infer is our nominal effective exchange rate is bigger than 1. That means that home countries, so Turkey's currency lost value with respect to these countries. So with respect to all of the countries we are calculating. I said that when E is increasing, that means that our currency is depreciating. It's the same logic. If our nominal effective exchange rate is bigger than 1, then our currency is depreciating compared to all of the countries that we have trade relations. And if our nominal effective exchange rate is less than 1, that means that our currency is appreciating, and if it is 1, that means that there is no change from base year to current year in our relative value of our currency to other countries. Now let's quickly review G-curve. G-curve is about a case where our currency is depreciating. So let's consider that our only trade partner is United States. So we just trade with United States. So our only concern is how our exchange rate relative to the dollar. So let's say that our currency is depreciating. So the dollar is gaining value and Turkish lira is losing its value. So we want to know what will be the effects of this depreciation in our current account balance. Let's consider that net primary income and transfer incomes are zero. So our only concern in current account balance is exports minus imports of goods and services. So let's think from the beginning. If our currency is depreciating, that means that the American goods and services will be expensive to Turkish citizens, right? Because if dollar is gaining value, that means that our exchange rate is increasing, and so the products in the United States is now expensive to the Turkish people. But in contrast, the products in Turkey or the services in Turkey, like tourism, will become cheaper for the United States citizens. So what do you expect normally? That our exports will increase because our products are now cheaper to United States citizens, and our imports will decrease because the America's products and services is so expensive to us now. So we might expect that over time our curve will just go an upward sloping, and our current account balance might increase in all times. But this is not the case. Actually, in the empirical studies, we see that in the data, when the currency is depreciating, our current account balance might it might go down, and then it will increase as the time passes. So in the short run, a depreciation might lead to worsening of the current account balance, but in the long run, it will lead to normal results where our exports will increase and imports will decrease. So over time, in the short run, let's say that we are in time t0 and a depreciation happened, in the really short time, our current account balance will decrease. And after time passes, in the long run, our current account balance will increase, and our curve will take a form like a letter G. So that's why it is called G. So why this is happening? Why in the short run our current account balance is worsening? Well, the first reason is contracts might already have been made. So you might have a contract with the United States producer that you will buy from them. And even though there is a depreciation and the products have become expensive for you, you might not decide to not buy them because you already made a contract. And volume of imports might increase if people expect more depreciation. So imagine again, you're a Turkish citizen and you experience a depreciation. If logically you might think, okay, now United States products are expensive for me, I might not buy them. But if you expect more depreciation in the future, you might say to yourself, okay, like depreciation will continue and next year the prices will be even more expensive, so it's better I buy now. So in the short run, you might increase your import volume because you you might expect that in the future there will be more depreciations. Or there is also a recognition lag, decision lag, delivery lag, production replacement lag. So if Turkish lira depreciates and all of the United States citizens want to buy Turkish goods, there is recognition lag. Like Turkish producers first have to recognize that there is a demand for their goods, and there is a decision lag if producers want to increase their production capacity, and there is delivery lag. Like Turkish producers have to increase their capacity, they have to do investment and deliver to the United States. There is delivery lag, and there is product replacement lag. If Turkish lira depreciates too much, yes, it will be cheaper for the United States citizens, but they have to change their production capacities as to welcome the Turkish imports. So when Turkish lira depreciates, E increases, exports minus imports, so current account balance might actually worsen in the short run, but it will increase in the long run, as you can see from this G curve. Okay, let's continue with question 1. In Munich, a bratwurst, it's probably pronounced differently, costs €5. In Boston, hot dog costs $4. At an exchange rate of 1.5, where a dollar and euro is worth $1.5, so euro is more valuable. What is the price of a bratwurst in terms of hot dogs? All else equal, how does the exchange rate change as euro becomes $1.25? Compared to the initial situation, has hot dog become more or less expensive relative to a bratwurst? So in the initial case, the exchange rate of euro and dollar is 1.5. So a euro is worth $1.5. So in terms of defining if a hot dog is cheaper or if a hot dog is expensive, we have to convert them into the same currency. It can be either dollars or it can be either in euros, whichever is most convenient for you. I will choose to convert them in dollars. So at an exchange rate of 1.5, hot dog, well, it is already in dollars, so we don't have to convert it. It's $4. But a bratwurst, it's €5, so we multiply 5 with 1.5. So a bratwurst cost $7.5. So price of bratwurst in terms of hot dogs when exchange rate is 1.5 is we divide them. So we divide 7.5 with 4. So it becomes 1.875. So the bratwurst is actually more expensive than hot dog, so because it's bigger than 1. Let's see what happens when exchange rate is 1.225. Actually, I write it wrong. So what happens when exchange rate is decreasing? That means that dollar is appreciating against euro, and euro has depreciated against dollar because exchange rate have decreased in number. So price of bratwurst in terms of hot dogs when exchange rate is when exchange rate is 1.25, hot dog is again cost $4 because it's already in dollars, and bratwurst cost $7.25 because we multiply 5 with 1.25 in this case. Price of bratwurst in terms of hot dog in this case is we divide 6.25 with 4, 6.25 with 4, and the result is 1.56. So what happened when the euro has depreciated? Hot dog become more expensive and bratwurst decreased in value because in the initial case euro was actually more expensive compared to dollar. So bratwurst was expensive compared to hot dog. But when euro depreciated, when dollar gained value in this case, because when E decreased in a number, that means that dollar appreciated. When dollar appreciates, hot dog becomes more valuable compared to bratwurst. So it is indicated here that the price of bratwurst is actually decreasing. So the hot dog became more expensive. In the second question, we are given a table of different countries and their exchange rate in 1999 and in 2006, and we are giving our trade volumes with these countries. And we are asked to find nominal effective exchange rate in 2006 using 1999 as our base year. So what we have to do is first we have to find weights of every country. So weight of UK is we write our in trade volume with UK, and we divide it by the total volume of our import and export capacity. To find it, we just sum all of our exports and imports we are doing with these countries, and it is this number we are seeing here. So we write it here, and this is the weight of UK. And we have to find the exchange rate index. Exchange rate index. What we have to do is we have to find the year we want to find the nominal effective exchange rate. We write it here, and we divide it by the base year's exchange rate, which is 1.4. So this is the exchange rate index, and we multiply these two numbers, and we sum the answer with all of the countries. So that's what we did here. We actually find the weight. This is the weight of the UK, and this is the exchange rate index of UK, and we calculated basically for every country. This is UK's, this is France's, this is Germany's, this is Russia's, and this is United States. We calculated the weights of every country and exchange rate index of every country, and we basically sum these up. When we sum these up, it becomes we find that nominal effective exchange is 1.19, so it is bigger than 1, right? So in general, we can say that our currency depreciated from 1999 to 2006 compared to all of the countries that we have trade relationship with. United States has a current account deficit with Japan. What would happen to the dollar-yen spot exchange rate and the current account deficit if there were a decrease in Japanese investment in the US? To see what will happen to the exchange rate, we have to actually derive the spot exchange rate market for dollar and yen. So we put the dollar-yen exchange rate here on this axis, and this is the quantity of yen exchanged in this axis, and this is the dollar-yen exchange rate E. So first, let's draw the initial situation where demand for yen is a downward sloping curve and supply of yen is an upward sloping curve. So they are asking us what would happen if Japan were to reduce its investment. To make an investment in the United States, you have to Japanese businessmen have to convert their yens into the dollar, right? So when they reduce their investment capacity, they will convert their yens. They will decrease the yens they are converting to the dollar, right? Once they reduce their investment capacity, they will not need as much as dollars as they were in the initial situation. So the supply of yen will decrease, so there will be a leftward shift in the supply of yen. What will happen? The new equilibrium rate is here. The initial equilibrium rate was E1, and the new equilibrium rate is now E2. So what does it mean when dollar yen exchange rate increases? It means that yen now worth more dollars. So dollar is now less valuable compared to yen. So we can say that dollar has depreciated. Dollar depreciates against yen. When dollar depreciates, this is related to G curve. When dollar depreciates, current account deficit decreases. Why? So current account deficit means that exports minus imports is negative. When dollar depreciates, that means that this will actually increase, so that deficit will decrease. So don't be confused here. This is not current account balance. This is current account deficit. So when current account deficit decreases, it means that current account balance increases. Why does it happen? Because as we have talked earlier, when dollar becomes less valuable compared to yen, Japanese people will import more goods from United States, and since the Japanese products will be more expensive to United States, citizens of United States will import less goods from Japan, which will increase their current account balance. But as we see in the G curve, current account deficit might worsen, so current account deficit might increase in the short run, but it will eventually decrease. This is related to G curve. In question 5, we are given an economy and its various components such as consumption, income, government spending, exports, imports, and taxes. In the first part, it says find the equilibrium of this economy. To find the equilibrium, first we have to find the aggregate expenditure or total expenditure, which is shown by the letter Z. So the expenditure consists of consumption plus investment plus government spending plus exports minus imports. So we put the numbers here. This is consumption, this is investment, this is government spending, this is exports, and we subtract the imports. But you see here, this is not Y, this is not national income, this is actually disposable income. To convert disposable income into the national income, we have to use this equation. What this equation tells us that once we subtract the taxes from national income, we find the disposable income. Because the disposable income means the income that consumers can spend. So, since you cannot spend the taxes, you have to pay taxes to the government. You subtract the total income, national income from. You subtract taxes from national income, so you find the disposable income. So we just convert YD to the Y minus taxes. I wrote 0.2Y because taxes is this number. So we just subtract Y from the T from the Y. Again, we have YD in our import part, so we convert YD into Y minus taxes, and since taxes is this number, we just write that. Once we do the math, aggregate expenditure will become this number, will equal this number, and at equilibrium, since the total expenditure must be the same with the total income, because the total expenditure must be compensated, must be faced with income, so that means that at equilibrium, income must be equal with the total or aggregate expenditure. So instead of Z, I write Y here, so Y will equal this number, and if we do the math, equilibrium income will become $2,000 or Turkish liras. Second part, it says what is the value of this economy's current account in its balance of payments. In the question, I didn't write here, but in the question it says that net factory incomes and net transferred payments are zero. When they are zero, current account balance basically becomes exports minus imports of goods and services, so we just have to find this. We again write the exports, which is 100, minus imports, this equation. We again convert disposable income into normal income, national income, and we find this equation. Once you find this equation, you have to put here the equilibrium value of national income, which is 2,000. So we put 2000 instead of y, and our current account balance is negative 92. So there is a current account deficit in the economy. In the other part, without using any figures, how would a sudden depreciation of the national currency of this economy alter the equilibrium national level of national income? We talked this before many times. When our currency is depreciating, our goods become cheaper to the foreigners, so they will demand more of our goods. Our exports will increase, and since foreign countries' products will become expensive to us, we'll import less goods. So it will increase our current account balance, and hence it will increase our national income as well. But again, remember the G curve and its implications. It might not hold true in the short run, but it will eventually hold in the long run. Question 6. There is an island economy with just two components, consumption and investment. First part, derive the aggregate expenditure function. Aggregate expenditure is just, in this case, just consumption plus investment. So we just sum these up. It becomes this number. In part 2, calculate the equilibrium national income. As you know, at equilibrium, aggregate expenditure Z equals to Y. So instead of Z, I write Y here. And now we can solve for Y. At equilibrium, Y is equal to 2000. Part 3, calculate the consumption level in equilibrium national income. We write the consumption function, and for Y, we write the value of Y in equilibrium, 2000, and it becomes 1700 consumption level in equilibrium. In 4, if investment increases by 100, what is the new level of national income? So if it increases by 100, this will become 400 liras. Investment will become 400, and if we sum the consumption with investment, the new aggregate expenditure will become this number. And again, we find the equilibrium by equating Y equals Z, and in this level, Y equilibrium becomes this number. But there is an interesting point you might have found, is that we increased investment just by 100 liras, but our national income increased by 250 liras. That concept is related to the multiplier, and you will see it in your next lecture. And in 4, it says that also graph this model. So we first graph the we first graph the curve of the initial expenditure, which is Z1. This was 800 plus 0.6y, and then we write the new aggregate expenditure, which was this number. As you can see, I didn't change the slope because the slopes are same. As you can see, the slopes are same. Slopes are 0.6. The only changing thing is the constant term. So I just changed the intercepts, and the slopes are same. Slopes are 0.6. And at equilibrium condition is that Y equals Z. So I just this vertical axis is Z and horizontal axis is Y. So I just put a 45-degree line indicating that Y is equal to Z on this curve. So this is equilibrium condition, and where expenditure functions intersect with this curve is the national income. So the first national income was Y1, and in the second national income equilibrium level was Y2, and it changes 250. 7. Metroland's economy is as follows. We are giving consumption, investment, government spending, taxes, imports, and exports. These questions are pretty much the same. You just use different numbers. In the first part, it says calculate the equilibrium income level of Metroland when interest rate is 0.10 and national income. So this is national income. let me see, this is national income. When national income is 1,000. So we just again write the aggregate expenditure model. This is consumption, this is investment, this is government spending, this is export, and this is imports. We subtract the imports. So we just convert YD into the disposable income. Again, remember that disposable income is Y minus taxes. In this case, taxes is just 50. So YD is Y minus 50. So we write Y minus 50 instead of disposable income. We convert all disposable incomes and we put 1,000 instead of Y fee, and we put 0.10 instead of interest rate, and at the end you should get Z equals this number. And at equilibrium Z equals Y, so we put Y instead of Z, and you'll get this equation. And if you solve for Y equilibrium will equal to this number. In the second part of the question, it says, without calculating, think what would happen to the national income if interest rate increases in Matoland. So it says that what happens if interest rate increases. We see which equation have the interest rate on it. The investment function have interest rate, and if interest rate increases, the investment will actually decrease. This has become, when interest rate increases, it will decrease the incentive to invest because it will be more costly to borrow from depository institutions, which is banks. This phenomenon is implied by a negative sign in front of the interest rate in investment function. So it means that when interest rate increases, investment will decrease, which will decrease the national income. So when interest rate increases, that will decrease investment, and this will decrease national income. What happens when foreigners' national income increases? So as you can see, there is a positive relationship with foreigners' national income on our export. This is because when foreigners become, let's say Germany becomes more richer, when German citizens more richer, they will import more Turkish goods because they are richer. They can buy anything from Turkey, so it will actually benefit us by increasing our exports. So when national income increases, our exports will increase, our current account balance will increase, and our national income will increase as well. Okay, now let's start with the multiple part of our problem set. In the first part, we are given a graph and it shows the exchange rate market between dollar and euro. And if you read carefully, it is showing us how much a euro is worth in terms of dollars, right? So it shows that dollar price of 1 euro. So how much 1 euro is worth in dollar terms. So it is 0.8, right? A euro will buy, 1 euro will buy $0.8. So a dollar is more valuable than euro. This is not in accordance with the real world. In real world, euro is more valuable, but let's assume it dollar is more valuable here. Question 1, at the equilibrium exchange rate, well, you can simply find this by simple math. If 1 euro will buy 0.8 euros, sorry, if 1 euro will buy $0.8, how much a dollar will buy in terms of euros? And if you do this math, then it will show you that $1 will buy 1.25 euros. Question 2, other things equal, a rightward shift of the demand curve would. Let's shift the demand curve to the right. If you shift this to the right, new equilibrium rate will be at here. So it will be actually higher than the initial position. So what will happen? It will depreciate the dollar, because when A is increasing, it signals a depreciation in terms of the home currency. And in this case, we are referring dollar as our home currency, or as our base currency. So it will depreciate the dollar because €1 in this case, when E goes up, €1 will buy more dollars. What does it mean if a €1 now euro can buy $1? That means that the value of dollar is decreasing relative to the euros. Question 3. Now let's complete them. Question 3. Other things equal, a leftward shift of the supply curve would. Now let's shift supply curve to the left. Okay, this is again a similar outcome. Exchange rate is increasing, right? New equilibrium rate is at here. So the dollar again depreciate. So in the answers we don't have an answer that says depreciation of the dollar, but depreciation of dollar means appreciation of the euro. So the answer is A. Question 4. Under a system of fixed exchange rates, a nation that has chronic balance of payments deficit may initiate protectionist trade policies. This is true because you can keep your value of your currency by restricting the imports, so that your current account balance may stay constant because you close all your borders and there is no imports to make or exports. B. Run short of international monetary reserves. Well, this happens when you both want to protect your value of your currency and want to do international trade. To keep your value of your currency when you do international trade with current account deficit, you have to supply dollars. Well, let's suppose that we are interested in the exchange rate market of dollar and Turkish lira. If you want to keep the value of Turkish lira relative to the dollars when you are having current account deficits, you have to supply dollars into the market to keep the value of the dollar low compared to the Turkish liras. C. Be forced to invoke contradictory monetary and fiscal policies. Yes, this is again a solution, because when you do a contradictory monetary policy, this will increase interest rate, and higher interest rate will bring hot money to the Turkey, and it will increase the financial account of Turkey. So with increasing the hot money, you might have a strong currency even though you have current account deficits. So you might do all of the above. Question 5. A government may be able to reduce the international value of its currency by selling its currency in the foreign exchange market. Well, if you sell your currency in the foreign exchange market, that means that your supply, let's think again in Turkish case. Think about that you're the central governor of the Central Bank of Turkey and you want to depreciate the Turkish lira. What you can do is you can supply Turkish lira into the exchange rate market, right? The more the supply of Turkish lira, the depreciation of the Turkish lira will be greater, because if you have a lot of something, then the value of it will decrease in just like in any market. So you can sell your own currency in the market, not foreign exchange. Remember that. For the next 3 questions, we'll answer them by looking at this graph. It shows the Keynesian short-run aggregate expenditure income model. Question 6, if the US economy is currently at point N, so if the economy is at point N, our income is here, right? Our income is here. Which of the following could cause it to move to the point K? In the point K, our income is at here. So our income decreases. So what could happen? What might be the reason of this decrease in our income? A. Household expect future income to decline. Yes, this could be a reason, because if you expect that your future income will decrease, then you will lower your consumption today, right? So if you expect hard days to come, you would stop spending so much money today in order to save for the future. So this can cause aggregate expenditure to decline, causing national income to decline also. Household wealth rises. When your wealth rises, you actually would want to consume more. So in this case, it would increase income, not decrease. This cannot be the explanation. The firm's cash flow rises as profits rise. When your profits rise, your investment opportunities, that means that investment opportunities are high and the economy is going well, so that if your profits go well, you would want to increase your investments. This will also cause investment to increase, and so income to increase. This cannot be the reason of the decrease in income. Government expenditures increases. Well, this is government expenditure increase, and in our simple model, this will also invoke an increase in the national income. So this again will increase our income. The answer is A. Suppose that the level of GDP associated with the point N is potential GDP. So let's go to our graph and delete all these points. It says that N is our potential GDP. So this is our potential GDP. Let's call it, let's indicate it with Y star. And suppose that the level of GDP associated with the point N is potential GDP if the US economy is currently at point K. So if we are at point K, we are below our potential GDP. What does it mean? It means that the economy is in a recession. So if you are now producing under your production capacities, that means economy is in recession. Again, in question 8, suppose that the level of GDP associated with the point K is potential GDP. Now the K is potential GDP. This is potential. And it says that if the US economy is currently at point N, so we are producing above our potential, that means that the economy is in a boom or expansion. So the answer is C. Consumption is positively related to household income, because when your income increases, you would want to consume more goods. So it's positively related. And wealth and households' expectations about future, and negatively related to interest rates. So when interest rate rises, what happens? The banks offer you more money to keep your money as savings. So when interest rate increases, you would want to keep your money as savings and put it into bank and earn interest rate, right? Because higher interest rate means higher opportunity cost of spending your money. You would be better off to put your money in the bank and not worry about it, not consume your money. So it is negatively related with increasing interest rates. Question 10. What is the effect of a depreciation of a country's currency on the trade balance? We talked it in our problems before, so I'm not going to go into details about it. It will reduce the deficit. Question 11. The shape of the G curve has the following meaning. Well, I explained it in the beginning of the video, so I won't explain now. It is the balance of trade gets worse before it gets better following the currency depreciation, or we can say it gets worse in the short run and gets better in the long run.